Tag TV and Tag Radio. Be seen and heard by both technology users and technology producers throughout the state of Georgia and around the world. Low cost, big benefits, powerhouse online branded video and audio has arrived. Tag TV, Tag Radio, there's a lot more to know. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by GlobalSpeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of GlobalSpeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. Few of us have ever experienced, most can't even remember, those 2-hour leisurely business lunches or afternoon of golf immersed in the closing of that big business deal. Consider the impact of today's, albeit tomorrow's, use of automated marketing processes, highly personalized virtual relationships with prospects and existing clients built from the constant flow of qualified and timely selling opportunities. It's an evolution of the social media revolution many of us use every day: Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and more, much more. However, today, virtual relationship marketing has become a full-time enterprise strategy designed to create constant virtual contact welcomed by the target audience that develops a trusted consulting expert status, transforms the prospect, now kept informed by the perceived expert, as not only someone who understands their problem, but also offers timely information and many times extremely valuable solutions. Greetings, everyone. It's Tuesday, November 27, 2012, and this is Tech Talk with Technology Association of Georgia President Tino Mantella. I'm your guest host, Frank Baia. 10, often considered a perfect score. When it comes to virtual relationship marketing, industry experts in Internet security know 10. The Tech Exec Networks, a national technology and security executives networking organization, as the premier peer-to-peer relationship facilitator between top execs, industry visionaries, and solutions providers. In fact, among a spectrum of executive leadership programs enabling information exchange, collaboration, and decision-making, 10's flagship program is the nationally acclaimed Information Security Executive ISE of the Year Series and Awards. In a rare, candid insider discussion, Marci McCarthy, CEO and president of 10, shares what every marketing executive considering an effective virtual relationship marketing strategy, or those who are already implementing one, need to know to achieve maximum results. Marci is considered a true pioneer in virtual relationship marketing and has over 20 years of business and entrepreneurial experience, including founding 10's acclaimed ISE program series. A 2012 recipient of the 4th Congressional District Citation, Marci was lauded for fostering greater visibility and professionalism for the IT security industry. Recognized in Who's Who in Georgia technology community by the Atlanta Business Chronicle, Woman to Watch by Atlanta Broad Street, a WIT Woman of the Year nominee, a TurkNet Leadership Character Award nominee, and a recent finalist for the Technology Association of Georgia's 2012 TAG Marketing Award. Virtual relationship marketing experts say there are nearly 4 times as many qualified longer-term prospects in your marketplace than immediate selling opportunities. The Tech Exec Network's pioneering and now proven successful leader tells you what it takes to achieve the maximum from virtual relationship marketing. As Up to the Tech Talk, we speak with its innovative CEO and president, Marci McCarthy. Marci, welcome to Tech Talk.
Hi, Frank. It's great to be here today.
Gosh, you know, with the economy the way it is, with all the exciting dynamics and what they call disruptive technologies, I think being a startup has never been more challenging, yet never more exciting. And certainly I think just over recent history, we would best describe 10 as that, as a startup, but add the little sprinkling of a challenge called virtual marketing or virtual relationship marketing, I think kind of either adds a equally as exciting dynamic as maybe challenge. Tell us a little bit about the space. What about virtual relationship marketing? And, of course, how do you move beyond startup stage to reach a level of traction, as you would say, as far as being successful?
Well, I think it's really coming down to 3 things that really allows us to be successful in a virtual relationship marketing space, and it's really somewhat new. It's the ability to take advantage of cloud services, as it just really opens up many, many opportunities for us. So we actually do not have to have a hardcore traditional infrastructure. And by leveraging these types of cloud-based technology such as Salesforce, Constant Contact, and other ones out there, we've been able to build this integrated marketing platform that really allows us to stay connected and deliver continued results that are measurable for our customers. Another area that I've been able to really find to be helpful in this arena is to continue to innovate and deliver new programs, program formats, as well as services to meet the changing needs of our customers. Our customers are very dynamic. They have various sales and marketing objectives, and it's important to create new formats that align with what those sales objectives are. And, of course, this is a little bit old-fashioned, but I don't think it ever goes out of style. It's customer service, and I think that's critical to the success of any type of business. And if a client doesn't feel that their needs are being taken care of, you really run the risk of not losing that client, but if possible, any referral business. And our business is based on reputation, referrals, and that's how we and repeat business.
Well, when you talk about the dynamics of what cloud computing represents in terms of speed, unlimited connectivity, the idea that so many social programs can be, in fact, virtual and unlimited in its ability to make an impact, or at least make reach, as we used to call it, traditional reach and frequency terms as far as marketing is concerned. In today's arena, I'm talking now about marketing programs specifically, what piece of advice would you give to the technology marketing professionals who are kind of, I would think, tempted by the social aspects and the volume, the potential outreach that seems to come almost oversimplified at a click of a mouse, versus that kind of quote-unquote relationship marketing based on some of the philosophies that you've just mentioned?
Well, first of all, you have to be adaptive. So the traditional measurements of success, or how you would measure a marketing campaign, are fairly instant versus waiting weeks and months for that, direct marketing campaign and how many calls, and they didn't even have emails then. But now it's how many, clicks, how many likes, how many shares, and everything like that. So with the rapid pace of technology and the digital age that is in front of us, and there's a lot of information overload, as you probably well know. So, again, those traditional marketing practices are really just not adequate. But you have to think about being creative, innovative, adaptive, and you have to be fluid in your marketing campaign. So you really have to look at your results on a step-by-step basis, as well as the bigger picture, but being willing to make those changes along the way. So if you're not getting a lot of responses or registrations, in our case, for a particular program that is very targeted, we need to take a step back and go, what are we not saying, or what are we saying, correctly, and take those measurements back and then go back at it again. The good news is you're not running to the printer every time and making all those, cross-outs and changes. You're doing them somewhat on the fly, and you can get your gratification or your results measurement fairly quickly. But I think it's really important to go along the way and measure your success through all the different social media platforms and mediums, as well as the kind of responses you're getting to your email campaigns, as well as the overall response that you're hoping for.
Now, obviously, it would be almost impossible to debate the importance of adapting the message to the audience. It's a good point, as you brought up. But now we're talking about also how do you learn from experience? Can you really replicate what has worked when you're constantly adapting? Let's talk a little bit about, beyond helping you to fine-tune your message, how else can marketers take advantage of, say, social platforms? And I guess, really, is there any benefit to using one over another?
Well, I think you have to know your audience. So the power and value of social platforms such as Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, they really, really allow you to reach different audiences in very different ways. And the message will change from platform for platform. So, for example, you have Twitter. You have very limited characters or limited space, but the microblogging aspect allows you to quickly communicate with a large audience and stay connected, provided that you are following and you have followers. Facebook, which is really also another aspect, is somewhat more consumer-oriented, but it's the good things about Facebook is it's highly visual and has many, many interactive capabilities, and it allows you to tell a story as well, establishing a face for your company, where you cannot do that on Twitter per se. I mean, Twitter's added some abilities to add pictures, but again, it's really not a story of pictures, where Facebook is really a story of pictures and messages along the way, sort of like your USA Today type of thing. LinkedIn is really a whole different animal as well, and it's really a more business-to-business type of audience. So the messaging is more transactional and event-based and less emotional. So you really don't put a lot of pictures out there. You may put links to things and, comments, but it's much more informational driven. It's educational. And, again, as I mentioned, it's really more transactional.
Do you actually find a dichotomy of the audiences, or is the medium the message? I mean, are you saying that it's how you communicate on each one of those platforms is the best use of that platform, but you may actually be speaking just to the same person but in different ways, or do you find them to actually be different audiences?
We do find that some will follow us on all three. We have done a survey of our ISE alumni, for example, and all of them pretty much are on LinkedIn, so that's a de facto for us of 100%. And we have communities inside of LinkedIn that we have built for different purposes and different genres along the way. Facebook is a little bit more of a storytelling that we're what we did at an ISE program, one of our awards or something like that. That's a storybook of pictures like a USA Today. Mm. And Twitter we use to leverage what the commentary is going on of an event. So if someone says something thoughtful, we capture it into the space count that is what Twitter has and put it out there with a name drop associated with it. So it's affiliated.
Reactive, proactive, both? I mean, do you actually find, in the day we would have talked about marketing being noise, intrusive. Can any of those social platforms be really intrusive, or is it a opt-in kind of a thing? I have to go to Facebook, I have to go to LinkedIn in order to be able to get the message that you're trying to communicate?
Well, Twitter is a lot more, I would think, more reactive. So you're dialoguing and you're sending out information and you're engaging along the way, so it's a very timely type of application. LinkedIn and Facebook, we tell more of a story type of it that we're looking forward to an event and then report along the way of what's kind of happening. But again, that Twitter feed for us is much more on the money, on the on the spot, and the other ones much more kind of are more blocks of time or things that are happening along the way. The groups inside of LinkedIn can offer different active dialogues, but again, depending upon how you set up your feeds or your email alerts with them, it's going to depend upon how you set those up at a personal level, and that will dictate how we interact with them. Twitter, again, is much more instantaneous. It's almost like a text message.
So the assumption is, based on what you're saying, that is you have a social media, if you will, strategy that you almost implement the way a pilot might check out the operation in a plane before landing or taking off. I mean, you do the same thing kind of for every event or every activity?
Yeah, I think you have to really carve out what you're going to, how you're going to leverage each of those mediums before you go into it. So, for example, for Twitter, you want to make sure you have a defined call sign so that you are asking other people to define that along with you when they're tweeting out as well from the event. And you want to reiterate that through the live event. So, we would use like pound ISE Southeast or SE for something like for ISE Southeast as an example. And again, throughout the day and evening, we're encouraging people to also participate and rebroadcast ISE SE in their tweets for that particular program.
So once you've implemented the initial strategy, then it sort of becomes somewhat of a, I wouldn't say a waiting game, but an anticipation to see what kind of reactions are going to happen and then respond to those reactions. So it isn't the end of the messaging. It's actually the beginning almost of the actual communication process.
I don't know if it's the beginning. I think it's the continuation. or the extension. because our programs, again, are about bringing people together in a face-to-face format. And not everyone, of course, can be with us at all times of the day or all locations, but this allows an ability to engage if you're not necessarily with us on site, and maybe congratulate the nominee or offer your opinion on a showcase presentation or an opinion on a roundtable topic. So it absolutely allows it to be interactive, and we have, when we're at the program itself, we have brought into the conversation. So I have said, folks, we have this person's, Twitter identity, for example, asking us a question, what do you guys think? And then we will rebroadcast that out, again, making the event both physical and virtual and interactive in real time.
Wow. The intimacy really it is a virtual relationship. I can understand by the way you're describing it how it, quote-unquote, replicates what you might have done in, quote-unquote, the day in a face-to-face type situation. You were an early adopter, a pioneer. I almost believe that you adapted things that were originally created for one purpose, you actually designed to use for something completely different, and that led a standard that ultimately became a larger group of people doing that kind of same process, if you can understand my point. But the bottom line of where I'm going is you started when things were early and you could adapt and experiment and compile the ideas and go through the experiences, quote-unquote, and learn from them. My question would be for marketers looking to do it for themselves today, to do their own integrated marketing program. First, can you do that? Could you go to it today, Marci, the way you went to it a few years back and not be intimidated and not need support from someone to kind of explain how it all works? Or is it out there already and it's already self-generated and just got to get in it and get going? So the first part would be for marketers, would you recommend that they do it on their own integrated marketing programs? And if they do, what would be some of the tips, say 4 or 5 things that they would need to be aware of to take into account before they get going?
Well, absolutely. So I think it is possible, and I think you got to jump in with both feet, but also realize that your experiences are going to keep you moving forward, and always you're going to learn from your successes as well as you're going to learn from your mistakes. And the stuff is, quite frankly, replicatable over and over again and templatable, which is really wonderful about using some of these cloud technologies and everything like that. But I really think it's important to, certainly leverage the power of technology and don't abandon those marketing best practices, the things that we learned, back many years ago. I think they're still going to be really tantamount today, and, they do have stood the test of time. But one important thing is really knowing your audience, and followed by really you're as good as your list. So you really have to spend a lot of time to replenish and maintain the database. I have dedicated staff that work on this religiously. And I'm going to stress the quality of your data is going to make you be successful in how you reach people, knowing your audience. It's critical. If you abandon your database and go back to it a couple months later, it's going to completely be, corrupt and not necessarily as good as it was.
Well, and I would think, and again, you correct me because if you're living in this space so almost every single moment of every day, that in actuality what we would have considered as a contact information or a database in the past that was static, that might have been name, rank, serial number kind of thing, now it's big data. So part of what you're doing is gathering analytics on each one of those contacts. So every time you do something, that list becomes even more valuable than obviously the most important part, keeping it up to date. But keeping it up to date might be what was the recent response or what was the propensity or request that was made by that individual the last time they made contact.
Well, you have to keep in mind that we're a very mobile society. So, people staying in their jobs is not necessarily, it's a lot like, people make job changes every couple of years or even quicker if they're consulting around or depending upon your industry. So staying on top of those folks is incredibly important and staying in touch with them. So, you want to know what they are doing out on LinkedIn. You want to follow them on Twitter so you don't lose touch with them along the way. It's really important, and you want to record that information in your database so that, again, when you're looking to data mine and manage your data, you can still find them even if they've gone, somewhere, between jobs. You might want to store a primary email address and a secondary email address in your database, because during those transition times, if that person's important to you and you want to continue to dialogue with them, it's important to stay connected through their personal email account and then be able to switch on a dime and go back to the work one when they make that information available to you, or you can locate it out there.
Well, it's a complex dynamic. We used to say dynamic fluidity anymore. I'm not sure exactly what describes the quote-unquote cloud disruption and new apps and changes that are happening almost every single day, even several times in a given day. I think you make, when we hear someone like yourself that's in the trenches doing it and doing it with such comfort and what appears to be a certain level of confidence, I think it's inspiring, because the reality of it is you can't not do it. The bigger issue is how do you get over the fear factor or the need to get going on it. Just get started, do it. So that part about marketers who are looking to do their own program, diving in with both feet, I think that's pretty good advice. It would seem to me that that's the only way you're going to learn it, is to get in there and do it yourself. We're quickly running out of time, but, you mentioned something about, in a way, I guess, retention, and that kind of falls into customer loyalty. The idea of the job changes is one component of it. But and just simply keeping track of individuals. But in a greater picture, talking about customer loyalty in general, especially these days, it's got to be one of the greatest challenges out there. What advice do you have for retaining and, more importantly, for growing your client base?
Again, it goes back to some of the old-fashioned things, but it goes back to the relationship, the quality of the relationship that you have, and, of course, showing the customer that you really care about them and their business. As well as an individual. I think it's really very important to really take the time, make sure you're listening, and build the rapport with them and cultivate those personal relationships. Also, make yourself as an ongoing resource for your clients. Introduce them to potential customers or other employees or other colleagues or contacts along the way. And I think, over and over again, when you insert somebody into a relationship, they're very appreciative of that. They want to return the favor. If you, really take the time to listen to them and deliver on what you promised, again, they're going to come back as a customer. Why would you go somewhere else if you're not, if you're satisfied and you're delivering, either at the expectation level or, more importantly, exceeding that expectation level, and really build that relationship. So that's what builds loyalty over and over again. You know what? Our business at T.E.N is completely based on building relationships and maintaining them on both sides of the aisle. We have strong relationships in the technology vendor space as well as the security executives, that attend our programs. So we really help these people over and over again find new opportunities, whether it is job-related all the way to project-related, product-related along the way, and being educated and raising their visibility in what they're doing and getting more opportunities in their organization and the industry overall.
Well, from an outside perspective and having watched you over just really relatively a few years, I know your theme is connect, collaborate, celebrate, and I think you've done each one of those as good as anybody can, if not setting a standard for a lot of people to follow. Nobody does it better than you, and nobody does it better than T.E.N. I can remember, it seems just almost yesterday, that there was maybe one event that you were involved in, or maybe two, to the best of my recollection, and now I think you're numbering, 6? Or
we have 5, or this year we'll have 5 ISE programs and adding a 6th for 2013, where we're going to be going to Canada.
Wow.
We'll have ISE in Canada. And overall, we have many, many different program formats, but when we say hello to 2013 and goodbye to 2012, T.E.N will have proudly delivered 75 customer events in 1 year.
I think we'll end it with that. I think that's absolutely amazing, and what's even more exciting is that I think it's just I know it's just the beginning. Marci, thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedule to join us for a few minutes to share your ideas, your experiences, and I think your great education and wisdom in the area of relationship marketing. Thank you for joining us today on Tech Talk.
Thank you so much, Frank, for having me. It was a pleasure being here.